Let's try it this way for the last ones. Peace living on our own land, an island, ocean freezes, berry spots for family. We kept moving, then settled here, and the peace was here, and it was good. Butter was the emissary. My great-grandfather would walk across lines that he didn't know were there, across to get butter, and there were other things at the trading store that he walked to in the Arctic, with just his thoughts for days and days, oh, to taste the butter again and to bring it back to his family after walking back again, singing an old song, maybe one forgotten now. We had their butter and bullets and guns and candy and flour sacks before we met them because of the trading. And we were not in their expansion pack papers yet. We were in the area of the map that they hadn't eaten yet. Their bellies were occupied of trying new ways to bring an entire people into submission. We say that they trained all of us to hide who we really are, but we never did submit in our hearts, and that is why great-granddaughters today transmit signals. It is finally safe to tell some of the stories, but we did not have the arsenal that they did, and the general really didn't want to kill everyone in the village because they are on some new protocols that the psychologists want to try for their research study, and so they just moved in. The worst neighbor ever, like a monster baby that cannot eat enough. The one from the long ago stories, but worse than the old stories. Their elbows poked in every direction and there were no points of negotiation. We were the brown ones that did not speak their language, but we understood. The last heathen savages to tame out on the wild frontiers, the ones on the very edges and the very hidden pockets in the Arctic Ocean, they saw us as something to stomp upon and to play with like a new toy, and they get to try new things, to press down on their new toy. And we understood their emotions. We could sense their joy in the promise of destruction. It was a never-ending hunger, and after us, they will have run out of places on the map to eat. So this time, they savored us. They allowed the researchers to come first before they bulldozed all of our sod houses to make a runway, so they could build a huge metal house where our village once was. This is a true story. We still remember that day that the bulldozers came. The researchers stripped our grandmothers and grandfathers naked in the name of science when they were just children and put them in the ice-cold freezer to see if their young Eskimo bodies were more resistant to cold than their Norwegian bodies or other bodies that they had been prodding at from Africa or wherever they travel as part of the team. They pinched the fat of our elders with cold metal utensils. This is how we knew who they really are. And you could still look up the study and see the percentage of fat and the skull size of my ancestor that just recently passed. And it wasn't hundreds of years ago. No! It wasn't that long ago. And I know at this point of the story you might need to go to the bathroom or to vomit, or maybe you need to lay down, and I want you to find it within yourself to keep reading, because it is better to take it in all at once like a wash of energy that is felt. This is a real part of what happened, because today they look at us as drunks and dirty people who need to just get a job and become part of society, but we did have a job and we did have a society. And everything was at peace, and we did remember and do remember the balance in the long, long ago story. So when you try to medicine us and tell us that we are crazy and unkept and that we cannot stop drinking or smoking weed or pushing our own head down into the ground, it is because of this wound that you created. And I am not a victim here. We were in harmony with the land. We had a job. We had no alcohol. We would gather as a community many times. Not this solo adventurer thing you tried to sell us as a dream. No! We still gather as a community. We still gather as a community. We still gather as a community. And we pick the berries, and we hunt the animals and share. And we still know most all of the old songs. And yes, some of our people do drink. It is none of your business. Leave us the fuck alone now. To use your language. Or better yet, or better, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. But these hate words are not our ways. See? You have even made the precious great-granddaughter forget her composure for a moment. This story, the true story memory shakes stillness. The true story memory shakes stillness. And yes, she carries the still water, the water that is still. She carries the sacred water, still. The beat of her people push her through the needle. The beat of her people push her through the needle. The beat of her people push her through the needle. Holding the still sacred water. The water is still sacred. We still hold the sacred water still. Remember how I did a funny story about the other one? So just in case you want to use this later. This one, I was thinking about how people, they're like, oh, people we haven't engaged with yet. What have we done before? Well, we did this in Cambodia. We did this in Ghana. We did this in, Uganda. We tried this over in Vietnam, or but this is let's try it let's do something different, right? Let's try we have a fresh group of people here to do our thing to, because it was pretty late in the game when, thankfully for us, especially for Kaktovik, because we didn't engage with the Boston whalers directly or the other whalers that came to Kaktovik. We didn't have that direct, that I know of. I might be speaking wrong here, but as far as I remember, we didn't have that one-on-one on our lands kind of thing with them, but we had trading. So we knew they were there, but when they finally reached, it, for me, it was like, did they think about how they're doing this? And when they bulldozed all our houses, and my grandparents only had 3 days to move, so it wasn't that long ago. It was my grandparents' age. When my grandparents only had 3 days to move all their houses, and so they could build a runway. That was something new. They decimated the whole village to build a runway. That was quite an arrival.
How long ago?
She was born in 1918, so it was probably, the military arrived around the 40s. And then they put these big, huge radar ears up. I don't remember when that happened. But then they were up, and then they took them down. But that was their... we were fortunate because my great-grandfather served as an emissary, like a diplomat between the military and our village. So anything that came into the village had to go through my great-grandfather. He would taste everything. He would only let officers into the village. No regular soldiers in the village. So we had like a border control in terms of the military that were coming in, which was very fortunate that he did that. Other places might have handled it different, but those are the stories I remember about my great-grandfather, Akootchook, who had some level of agency. He took agency in how they interacted with us as much as was able.